Okay, welcome to week 3 live lecture 2. Let's get started here. We left off yesterday, kind of just a little review here. Some of my slides are going to be looking the same, a little different as we go forward, but we went over your discussion yesterday. We looked at some mask reviews, what the differences are between layer masks and clipping masks. We also went over your assignment 3 yesterday in the lecture, and I did a step-by-step demo. So if you missed that lecture, definitely go back and listen to the recording. I also showed some supplemental videos to help you, kind of understand how to create masks and also selections. So definitely check that out. All right, so most of you guys are getting started with your discussion, which is great. And as I said before, we looked at masks yesterday. We talked about clipping masks, layer masks, channels, how to get into the details on, say, more intricate edges, kind of how to select that. We went over your assignment. I'm kind of skipping through here. So quick masks are great for irregular objects. So if you're, obviously we're going to be, let me share my screen here on Canvas before I actually get into this review. So week 3 assessment, which we did not go over yesterday, which is another quiz. So I'm not obviously going to go over the questions, but I am going to go over some of the material that you may be asked within this advanced compositing quiz here. So it's basically covering these learning objectives for this quiz. Identify which masking technique will be appropriate for separating a given subject from its background. Identify the most efficient selection tool for various photo subjects. Identify 3 common mistakes making selections to create masks. Define the use of non-destructive editing techniques to preserve original content. And identify the 4 main masking tools for creating a silhouette of a subject. So just be careful to read each question. It's about 15 questions like the last quiz, 90 minutes to answer. And don't forget your course media is a great supplemental resource as well. So go ahead and review week 1 through 3. We had taken a look at this video yesterday, a 6-minute video, while in lecture, but there are also some lido.com videos that are definitely very beneficial for kind of the process that you're going through and the quiz as well. Okay, so with that being said, let me go back to my slides here. Yeah, so quick masks are great for irregular objects. We kind of looked at quick masks yesterday whenever we were kind of taking out some of the subjects from the original image. The pen tool is a great tool for smooth curves and straight lines. So, and you have a little bit more control over the pen tool with the direct selection tool. You can play around with the selections that once you create your vector lines and anchor points, you can play around with, kind of making it more of a precise selection. The elliptical marquee is a tool that makes a perfectly round selection. Those marching ants that you saw, we can actually take a look at that in a second here. There's also the square marquee as well. And obviously that makes a square instead of a circle. Don't forget that black and white in your fill is very important when creating masks because it either will erase or reveal what you're seeing. Another little tip, toggle your foreground and background. If you hit the key X on your keyboard, it's a shortcut key to toggle your foreground and your background fill from black to white. Tools you can use inside a layer mask is brush. I'm gonna sneeze here, guys. Hold on 1 second. All right. I'm gonna sneeze again. All right, tools you can use inside a layer mask: a brush, the smudge tool, blur, copy, paste, an image. Excuse me. That came up quick, sorry. So you can use these tools in a layer mask, which is really good to know because you can kind of play around with different things to make it look, your composited image look a little bit more realistic. And I showed this yesterday in the demo when I was putting the man's body on the horse. I was going into the layer mask and actually using the rubber stamp tool to kind of create that fur going over the torso part of his body, so it looks more realistic and there's not like a hard edge where the body meets the actual horse part. A clipping mask is great for putting a photo inside a shape. We looked at that with type whenever I was showing the demo yesterday. So that's great for putting a photo in a shape as well, not just typography. Use the shapes layers and use text layers for a clipping mask if you want to, get that effect. The channel pull, great for when subjects are significantly lighter or darker than the background. And I think I showed you this yesterday using the channel pull. We can take a look at it again. I have another, let me see here. I have another demo that I can show you guys. I just have to grab some things before I start that. But it's just another way to create more specific and tighter selections. So let me open this up before I... Okay. Oh, okay. So we'll take a look at that with the channel pool a little bit more in detail. We looked at it a little bit yesterday, but I have another demo that I can show you guys that will explain it a little bit more in detail here. But that's another way to, it's another technique to select your subject. And it's great for, say, if you have an image that has like a white background or a black background, something that's very contrasted. All right. Color range selector are great for when the subject is on a solid color background. It's easier to select from. Other tasks like inverting a mask. When you invert a mask, that's basically what you're doing is you are selecting what you originally selected and inverting it. So let's say you selected the subject, say it's a person, with your quick selection tool, and when you do an invert, it basically selects not the person, but what wasn't selected. So it's an inversion of that. Inverting a selection, deselect a selection, refine edge dialog box. We looked at that yesterday, playing around with the feather to get more of a refined edge on, say, more intricate and detailed edges. How to make a layer mask after making a selection is Alt-Option-Click. Shortcut key, disable a layer mask. You can do Control right-click on the layer. And I think the video that we saw yesterday explained that too. Add to an already existing selection is hold Shift, and I showed you that when I was doing the demo the last two lectures. I was telling you to hold the Shift key down if you wanted to, say you needed to skip over a part of the image, but because of something that might have been not included, like with the dress, the woman with the purse, for example, you don't really want to use the purse on her arm, didn't want the color to change there, so you needed to use the Shift key as you were selecting just part of her arm and then skipping over the purse and the other part of her body. I had to an already existing selection, so holding Shift key, subtract from selection is Option Alt key, and reselect last selection is Command Shift D or Control Shift D, depending on if you're on a Mac or a PC. Working non-destructively is really important because it will save you a lot of time and a lot of frustration. Make all your changes on separate layers is what you're doing. Make a new blank layer before using spot healing. Use a layer mask instead of erasing. You'll end up with many, many layers in this regards, but it'll be good because you can go back and change it if you like. You can throw out all of the adjustment layers and start all over again very easily, or you can edit those adjustment layers, you know, instead of opening up your image and having to do it all over again, all the steps that you did, you're able to go and actually change those very easily. So it's easier to make changes, non-destructive editing. Can you change the color of a layer mask? Yes, you can, right? You can change the color of a layer mask. That's something to think about. The magic of blending modes. And again, this is kind of a little review, but we will be looking in this a little bit further next week too, because you guys will be applying blending modes to make your composited image look like it's part of the environment that you're placing it in. Looks more realistic. So blending modes are available not just with layers, but in several other tools as well. We took a look at this earlier, so you can tell that blending tools are also accessible through brushes. So you see this panel box here, and where it says mode, that's where your blending modes are if you're selecting the brush. Rubber stamp tool, same thing here. You can see the mode normal. You can change it up there as well. Okay, we already talked about this. So, you know, just kind of going over the overlay mode, just understanding each one of these is really important. And we discussed this earlier, so I'm just going to kind of skip through here. But yeah, we'll be going over this a little bit more in detail as we go forward into next week for your final projects here. Sorry, I kind of got distracted here. Hold on 1 second. All right, let me open up Canvas again, because I think what I'm going to do is give you guys a little bit of a tutorial on the channel pool first, because we were talking about that. And then I'm going to go back and take a look at your assignment 3 again, so that we can kind of discuss, you know, maybe another way to, just another version of what we did yesterday, just using maybe different subjects. Okay, so let me open up. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to open up my subject. Clicking away here. There we go. All right, so basically what I'm going to show you in this little demo here is how to image extract with channels. And this, you know, this technique is great if you have a very contrasted image. We had talked about that before. So let me go ahead and let me move this in a little bit here. So, you know, if you're creating image composites like you are for this project, and especially if you're working with stock images, you'll find yourself needing to extract the image elements from the white background. So this is, some of your images are white that were given for your project this week. So you'll get better results with some of the old school techniques, but they're, you know, you can use the quick selection tool like I showed you, or the magic wand tool. So I can go in here and actually do the quick selection tool. Like we had talked about before, holding the shift key down. You know, we can make that selection, and then we'd go you know, inverse, and then obviously you can take your mask. You can apply your mask. You can also use the magic wand tool, which is right here, holding down the shift key and selecting those areas and then applying your mask. Oops, you have to invert it, sorry. So you go select, inverse, and then do your mask. Okay. But there's also another way that you can do it. Let's try this one out. So we'll drag quick select around the image. So let me go get my quick selection tool. So then what we're going to do is we're going to drag and select around the image here, and then we're going to hold the shift key to select the images in between. Oops. Let me zoom in this part here. And make your brush size a little smaller. That's how you get that piece in there. Now we need to invert the selection. So we're going to go up to select on your menu bar and choose inverse. Okay. With the figure selected, we can press the Control J or Command J, or choose layer, new layer. So we have copy. So Control J or Command J. I'm going to do Command J. So you can see in the layers here, creates a new layer with the knockout. Okay, so now let's insert a black layer under our new layer and inspect the results. So we're going to do a new layer. And we're going to put it in between the original and the new one on the top. We're going to go Edit Fill, and we're going to fill it with black. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in and look really closely to the edges here. And you can see, you know, and this is a low res image, so you're going to see more of a, you know, more pixelation here, but pay attention to the white instead of the pixelation, just because it's a low res image I'm dealing with. The white part of that, and then here we go with this like white in there. There's some things to pay attention to. So we could go on trying to tweak the selection, but that's too much work. So let's discard this and try another approach, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get rid of this. 2 layers here. If we return to the original layer and open up the channels panel, sorry guys, we've got some messages coming in here. We can click on the red, green, and blue channels. Sorry guys, I got some messages. We can click on the red, blue, and green channels to see each one separately. And I showed you this yesterday, kind of how to look for the more contrasted one. So that was the blue one. There's the green one. There's the red one. They all look pretty contrasted. So we're looking for the one with the highest contrast. It seems to be the blue channel. So we're going to drag that channel down to the Create New Channel icon. Okay. So I just dragged it down over top of this icon here. So you have a new channel called Blue Copy. Now we click this channel to make it active. So make sure you select it. We are making a mask. So we want the pure black and white. So what we're going to do is bring up the levels. And I showed you this yesterday too. So we're going to do Command L, and your levels box should appear right here. And drag the black point slider to the right until all the gray areas become black. So this is your black stop here. And we're going to go all the way to the right until all the gray areas become black. You may need to go over stray spots with the black brush. like I showed you yesterday, but for the most part, that looks pretty good. So remember the rule for masking: black conceals and white reveals. We want the figure selected, so all we need to do is invert the mask by pressing, so click OK. Once you're done with that, so we want Control or Command I, depending on what you're on. So we're going to invert the mask after we do that, so it should look like this. Now our mask is completed. This is the important step right here. You're going to click on the RGB channel, so right on that channel, to get back to your image. And then you're either going to Control click if you're on a Windows or Command click on a Mac on the blue copy. So Command click right on that. Oops. There we go. We have our selection now. So we can go back to the layers panel and again copy the selection to a new layer. So Command J, just like we did, and check the details. So we're going to do another layer and I'm going to put it in between here. Edit fill with black. Now this is still going to look pixelated, but at least you can kind of see, you know, it selected more of the white in between here, and it's just a little bit more, you know, specific to the outline of the body. So this only takes seconds if you know, it kind of seemed like a quick, seemed like a longer process, but that's because I kind of showed you before, you know, other techniques. But basically all you're doing is duplicating the channel, and it's usually blue or green because it's the more high contrasted channel. Using level adjustments to drive all gray to black, you're going to invert the channel and then load the channel as a selection by Control Command clicking. So this takes seconds and is way easier than fussing with the quick selection tool. You may have more work to do if you want to composite this image onto a dark background, but for lighter backgrounds, there are, you know, only a few clicks every time when you have that going on in the background. So use this technique when you have an image that you're trying to extract from a white background. So this works great for logos and type as well. All right. Let me know if you have any questions, but I wanted to just kind of go over that. We went over that yesterday with the kitty image because of the fur, and I showed you how to adjust kind of the edges for refinement. All right, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and then I'm going to come back to kind of go over your assignment 3 in a different, you know, kind of using different imagery so that you can kind of get an idea of how to approach this, because I did use the same imagery in the example that was shown in project assignment 3. So I wanted to maybe take another example and show you how you can kind of work with the images too, because I think that's helpful, especially with the perspective of the images that you're dealing with. It might be a little bit more challenging. All right, so I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, it looks like I'm having some problems here with my computer. I took a little bit of a longer break here than usual trying to figure out what's going on here. So I apologize for the large amount of time that just passed. I'm having some technical problems here. Sorry, hold on one second, guys. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I was trying to figure out um, a few things going on my computer here. So my apologies for the the issues going on here. I'm not sure what's going on. All right, with that being said, I'm just gonna open up, let me close out of this demo here. And I'm gonna go back to kind of what we were discussing yesterday with the assignment 3. I'm going to go over just maybe some other ideas here in regards to the horses that you guys have to choose from. Let me open up this horse. Actually, it's not even opening up for me. See, I'm having all kinds of problems today. This must be the day. Some of these horses are like action, you know, they're kind of running in action poses here. Let me open up this one. There we go. So it's a little difficult to try to match a body with this because, you know, it is in motion. If you guys find, you know, I know Pixabay is a great website. Let me go on there and see if there's any other options, you know, that you guys can choose from. Maybe I can post those up. Let's see, horse. You know, as far as an option too, if it works better for the positioning of it. Might be some other options in here. It would be nice to see the full horse itself, body of the horse. All right, so there's definitely someone here just more close up. So it'd be nice to see the full body because obviously you're going to be placing the image of the actual body part connected to the horse. So a lot of these are close-ups. But if you find something that works for the body and it is a high-res image, like for instance here, you know, definitely can try that. I'm gonna go back to the horse that was given to you guys and see what body might match this horse. So let's see, the front, back, side here. Because a lot of the bodies that you have are front, kind of like the front of a person. So putting this in this, you know, perspective might look a little strange. So trying to this particular image may go well with the horse that I cannot open for some reason. It's called, I think it's the second horse. For some reason, it's not opening for me. In Photoshop, it's the only image that won't open for me. So let me go on Pixabay and try to find one that might work. Maybe for this woman or the man here. I think this is going to be the trickier part of this assignment. It's just finding something that is going to work perspective-wise. Some really cute pictures of some horses in here for sure. I'm just trying to find maybe a side shot of one that is not walking, that shows the whole body. Some really neat compositive ones. Here's one that might work. Let's do this one. see how this one works here. Export this out to my desktop as a high-res image. And then, oops, open it up in here. Let's go to the desktop. There we go. You know, maybe this one with her would work out perfect. So we'll see how that goes. If that actually works really well, I'll place that horse for you guys to work with. All right, so just selecting this horse out. Let's create a document. Before I do that, that's going to be the size that we need for our project again. And let's change this to inches. I believe it's 6 by 9, 300 pixels per inch, RGB. So we got that ready to go. And I did the same demo yesterday, just using different imagery here. Now for this one, you could try, you know, either the quick selection tool, magic wand tool might not work as well because of the grass below. You could do the magnetic lasso tool for the selection. You know, you might want to play around with different options here. The pen tool might be something. Either way, try to get as close as you can. Maybe try the techniques of the channel pull if it works. You know, this is definitely a high contrasted image. The only problem is where the feet are, it's very close in contrast with the grass, but that might not be an issue. You might want to bring the grass in anyway to your background image. Oops. Oh, did I lose that selection already? I think I accidentally lost it here. Hold on. Oh, I can't do it back. No, I lost that. It's only a downside about the magnetic lasso tool. You don't want to accidentally click the end point, which I guess I did. If you hit the wrong point on the horse, like for instance here, just hit delete till you get back to the pixels that you want to select. And don't forget, even when you're trying your best to get as close as you can to the details, you're zooming into your work, you still might not get all the details that you want, or you kind of screw up on the selection, and you can always go back and change that in your mask, quick mask mode. And again, this is the tricky part because you have all this hair. Get as close as you can. And I would probably, oops. Just kind of select this part. And then just kind of do like the last selection that I did on the horse yesterday. Just kind of grab some of the grass. We can kind of fade that out, make it look more natural once we get it into the background setting. So it's kind of fade it out. All right, so as we go forward here, getting all of the pieces. Okay, so for example, right there is a big, oops, it's a big spot that I missed. So just zooming in, do your quick mask, take your brush, and go ahead and paint so the white reveals. You can kind of go through here and just see how your selection was made here. Everything was good. And again, we can kind of refine this too, like in the channel masks. We're just gonna get rid of this. I think that'll be okay. The detail there. I'm actually going to get rid of this. And you don't necessarily have to, you can refine that in the feather area too, like as I showed before, but I think it's gonna be okay if we lose that just a little bit. Okay. Here's the selection, hit the quick mask again, then add your mask, and there you go. And then you can always test this, just throw like a fill in the background layer, just fill it, and you can kind of take a look at your selection, and if anything needs to change, you could double click on your layer mask and refine it by, you know, putting a feather on it, kind of playing around with the radius. You can see kind of it going in just a little bit. And then you can get rid of this layer. And there you go, is your selection. Okay, so the horse is done. We're gonna select him and pull him into our oops, layer here. Wrong one. Make him a little bit bigger here. And then obviously, you know, we need to do her selection as well. I'm going to take the quick selection mask and I'm just going to select, instead of doing like an actual lasso tool or, you know, selection that I did before. I see that the bikini part is real close to the background, so I need to go in and change that, paint over it. I don't want an edge here, so I'm going to put the hardness down. Oops. Actually, up. It's going the wrong way. Oops. Yeah, so maybe for this one, let me go back. Let me take my quick selection tool. I'm going to make it smaller. Holding the shift key. Oh, let me do add, subtract. I want to do add. Okay, if that's not working, then I'm going to take the pen tool maybe. Let's see here. Nice straight lines. We can do curves here and make this, It doesn't necessarily have to be clean there, just have to make a, oops, a path here, hold on. Open up your paths panel, and then this is where you can make your selection, and then we'll fill it. Okay, so that's another way you can do it, where it's a little bit more of an accurate selection. All right, let me unlock this layer and add a mask. Oops, we gotta invert it, right? So select inverse, the mask on, and there you go. She's ready to go. So we're gonna put this in here, make her a little bit smaller. See if she'll actually work in here. Now I'm probably gonna have to, this is gonna be tricky because she has her, some of her hand is cut off, and then she's holding this scarf in her hand. So it's gonna be a little tricky. Try to figure this out here. Let me place her in. And click on the mask mode, and we'll kind of start getting rid of this here. You know, maybe you keep the scarf, it's just a little strap or something. Kind of looks weird though. Maybe what we'll do is we'll tuck her hand behind the horse so that we don't even have to worry about it. I'll show you how to do that. All right, so yeah, some of the images could be a little tricky. This one is definitely tricky with her scarf. And then her hand's not quite finished down here. It's kind of cut off, so try to make it work. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put her behind here. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make a copy. So I'm gonna copy that same layer. I'm gonna put one behind and one in front, so bear with me here. So the one behind, I'm gonna get rid of, let me see here. The one in front, I'm gonna get rid of just her left hand. Oops. Or the one in front, sorry. I might not even have to do that either. Let me just get rid of that altogether. And let me go up to history again. Try to figure out how to do this without duplicating the layer. Okay, so let's try this. Try and get rid of our hand here without it being crazy looking. So I'm going to check on the mask, and I'm going to make this a little bit opaque so I can see the line that I need to select. So I'm basically selecting the area that I don't want in here with my path. And then I'm going to fill it. Okay. So I'm just kind of making it look like her hand's tucked behind. And then I don't have to worry about dealing with the scarf and how that all works. Okay, the next thing is getting rid of the horse face. So I'm going to take my pen tool again and click on the horse part layer. And I'm going to select where I don't want, want added in there. So I'm going to select this part. Doesn't have to be perfect. And edit fill. So I'm getting rid of that part. Looks like I did some weird masking on her arm here. Take that back. Oops. What are you doing here? Good on the mask. Wrong way. Paint that back. So I'm just on her mask. If you find yourself in this position, you can always go back. This is what's great about masks is you can always kind of redeem yourself. You took too much away. Kind of play around with that. Okay. So now let me take some of this out. Got some weird stuff going on here. We're gonna try to make it look more natural where her line is. So I'm gonna select the horse layer, not the mask. And I'm gonna choose, I'm gonna zoom in here, kind of like what I did yesterday with the man that I was actually working with. Choose the clone stamp tool on the horse layer because you want to select the fur part. And we just want to hit Alt Command, select the fur, and then select her layer. So we can place that over top. Okay. There we go. Pull her down a little bit. But you can kind of see the fur layer integrating itself with her body here. So it looks a little bit more natural, if that makes sense. There we go. Now, the only weird thing is her hand here needs to be fixed. This is going to be a tricky part because, you know, we are missing part of the hand here. I'm going to take the rubber clone stamp tool. I always say rubber stamp tool. I don't know why. And we're going to sample her hand here, the Alt Option key, and I'm just going to try to make it. I don't even know if this is going to work here. Hold on. Let's try doing a hatched. That's not going to work either. History. See if I can maybe copy and paste this, and then I'll have, oops. It's not letting me to select. This is the tricky part. Maybe if I smooth this out, oops, a little bit here, to make it look like the hand's kind of folded a little bit. Oops. I mean, it's kind of like, just missing the bottom part. So maybe just doing that is all you need to do. A little tricky part there. Okay, so she kind of does work on this particular horse. If you get her the right size, it's kind of working. And then what you can do is open up a background that you want to do. And then in this case, I'm going to do a different background than I originally did. So let's try maybe this one. Let's see what this one looks like. I'm just going to do a select all and then paste in here. Send it to the back. I'm going to make it, oops. It's very large. Let me zoom out. You can see how big it is. Kind of like this angle here. Okay. And then we need to open up the masthead that was given to you guys. And I showed you how to import this as well yesterday. So I'm just going to drag and drop. And we're going to put this on top. Make sure it's centered, everything looks good. I can even bring this up. And then, you know, of course, this needs to be blended in a little bit better with the environment, but we're going to talk about that, doing that more so next week, kind of making it blend in. So really all you need to do is put your parts in here together, and then we'll be refining it next week. But this is, this horse can definitely work. I'm going to place this in announcements for you guys to use if you want to use it. Because I think some of the horses that are given to you guys are they're kind of in a different perspective and hard to match up with bodies that you have provided. So if you find something that works that's not provided and you want to try that, by all means, just make sure you're seeing the whole body of the horse so that you know it is a centaur. If you only show half of it, it's going to look kind of strange. So just make sure it works with the body that you have going on here. And we'll play around with blend modes, you know, all that good stuff going forward, you know, and try different techniques, you know, with other effects to, you know, put in so that it looks like the image isn't just slapped in there. That's kind of the key there. All right, so let me go back to your, canvas here. Assignment 3. Just kind of make sure you're reading through the instructions here. And like I said, if you want to try and do a different horse with a different body and you think it works well, you know, you by all means do it. Just make sure you're seeing the whole body of the horse. And then just make sure you're going through what's required. So the page size, the DPI, you don't have to have it completely finished looking. It doesn't have to look like this is the end product here for week 4, but not week 3. So just kind of make sure that you understand this is part of the process, and we'll be refining it next week. Just make sure you're not submitting the final PSD document. That's going to be a large file. Keep it for your own you know, reasons. You're going to go back and change things. You need to keep the layers intact. But what you are going to do is downsize. You're going to save it as a lower res JPEG for submission. It doesn't have to look like the finished product here. It can look like I just showed you in my example. I think this is the first example that I showed yesterday. Let me open up yesterday's example here. This was yesterday's. So and then we'll just kind of make it look like it's integrated into this world a little bit more, because obviously, you know, he is so orange and brown compared to the surroundings. You can still see the grass below here. He's not really he looks like he's just pasted in there. And then this one, she's kind of like too vibrant as well. You know, there can definitely be some blending going on so that she's unifying with the background environment a little bit better. Alrighty. Let me know if you have any questions going forward, and I can try to help you guys out. Oh, that's kind of where I'm going to finish it up today. Sorry about the lag in the break here. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm kind of having some technical issues, so I apologize about that. But let me know if you have any questions. I will be here to help you guys. So reach out to me and we'll go forward. All right, guys, good luck, and I'm excited to see your upcoming projects.